All right, the C chord is a pain in the butt, especially if you're new to guitar, but it shows up so much. It's in so many songs. So we're going to look at how to get the C chord sorted out and get it down. This will help and can be applied to really any chord, a lot of what we're going to do. But when you start out, you learn open chords, right? We got G, D, C, A minor, E minor, E, A, D minor, F. So there's these different open chords that we learn, and C, G are two of the most common. C, people really struggle with this, so I'm kind of singling it out because I want you to get it down and not fuss with it anymore. All right, I've seen people take 6 months or more to get this thing sorted. That shouldn't happen. Or people who've come to me and they've been messing with it for years or a decade even. We need to know the chord, first finger, first fret, second string, second finger, second fret, fourth string, and third finger, third fret, fifth string. Of course, we don't play the open E string. Should sound like that. Now, here's where the issues come in. First is putting your fingers down 1, 2, 3. So when you first learn a chord, you often go, okay, first finger, second finger, third finger. I even just told you to do it that way when I presented it. But when you do this, you end up putting this finger down, you reach this one up, you reach this one up, and you see my fingers are really stretched out. And a lot of the strings get muted because the fingers end up too flat. They're reaching up for the notes when you should be on the tips of the fingers. So when we're playing guitar, if your finger is flat and the note below it, it ends up touching right there and you get a dead note. We want the fingers to be curled when we're doing chords, so the string below it can ring out when you strum it because you're hitting 5 strings. Some of those strings are open, some are fretted. It doesn't matter what chord it is. We want all the notes to ring out. So here's what we're going to do. We're doing a chord. It's probably best to anchor from this thumb knuckle over top or somewhere around here on the pad. Okay, and probably at the base of this finger, not up here, or you can float. So by that, I got my hand like this, and this gives plenty of room for my fingers to curl back around. So if you're way back here, your fingers end up really flat, and you can't curl them around well. So as your hand comes in front of the guitar, you can curl your fingers. So I'm trying to angle that right. Curl your fingers around to get on the strings. Okay, so that's number one. You could also float a little bit. So if you're floating, you got some space underneath, that's okay too. Because when you're anchored, you might end up, part of your finger down here might end up muting the string and touching it. So as you're strumming, I'm picking that, I'm muting it intentionally. I can feel it vibrating against the skin of my finger right here. But I have the muscle memory to where I can adjust it and it'll ring out. Okay, so if you can't get it, you might have to float a little bit. All right, so that's first, is your hand position. From there, we got our anchor or our positioning. Your thumb will probably be behind fret number 2. If you're down like this, all right, this is more of a little bit more like a classical position. Your hand is very far off the guitar. This is great for many things when you're playing, or if you're a classical player. Okay, but if you're playing just a regular acoustic scale string, you're probably going to grab it a little bit more like this. We're going to actually play the chord backwards. We're going to start with this third finger up here. And we're going to start this way to get it right behind the fret and make sure it's curled and check the string underneath. So I'm picking string 5 and then 4. Okay, it's ringing out. And then I can put this finger down. And it shouldn't be, your hand shouldn't be like this, right? We want to curl it. So we're going right down on those fingertips, right? Like that. We're not like flat like this, okay? Then finally we bring in the first finger. And this can be tricky because we're kind of almost reaching back at this point. Okay? full, nice, rich sounding C major chord. All right, that's really it. Get your good anchor and fret it backwards with the curled fingertips. Stop messing with it. All right, now, when you do this, this finger is kind of hard to reach up. So if you're really struggling, if you overshoot the string a little bit so that your string below it rings out, if you're accidentally touching this thick string down here, that's okay. You're not using it anyway, all right? And often you'll see people with their thumb over top muting that string there. So you could even mute it by overshooting this finger, because often I'll see people play and they just can't get that finger up there because their hand is like way too far back. Okay, so there's some adjustments you can make there to get that sorted out. Now, what I would recommend doing to practice this is relax. Your hand might be tight from trying to get all this stuff coordinated, so make sure it doesn't maintain tension for very long. Chords, when they're new, it makes your hand very tense, especially when you don't have calluses and it's a struggle. So make sure you're relaxed, do a little stretch, take a deep breath, know you can do it, I believe in you. Now let's bring our hand up, and from a fresh start, we're gonna go 3, 2, 1. Double check, make some adjustments, get all the strings good, and let your hand release back down, let the tension out. Don't just sit there and fight it for 10 minutes. If you're doing this really tight for 10 minutes, it's gonna start to become the muscle memory. And if you have muscle memory being really tense, that's tricky to undo. And that's what I did when I started. I had an acoustic guitar with 13 gauge strings on it, which is pretty hefty. And I just fought those chords every day for like 2 hours. And I got good at them, and I got really good at squeezing the heck out of the guitar. And then I had to go back and work all of that tension out. If you're having issues with tension and pain, I'll address that in some future videos. So subscribe, like, and then, you know, check in back for more. And I'll probably put a link once those videos are up in this video. All right, so you keep doing that repeatedly. Come back up, and we want to try to get it so eventually we're not going 3, 2, 1, just like we don't want to go 1, 2, 3. We really want to just, boom, land on the chord, all the fingers simultaneously. All right, we don't want to go, or if you have to do that for a little bit, that's okay. Over time, you can work on trying to slowly get them together. And to do that, you could put your fingers on the strings, but you're not going to press down because it's hard just to get them to just go down at once. So you're kind of going to touch, don't push down. You're just lightly touching. Get them all in place and then squeeze together as you strum and relax. That'll help build in that automatic simultaneous fretting. And the reason we want that is because if we're playing and we switch chords, we don't want to have to do that. We just want to, bam, snap it into place. All right. This can apply to any chord, and it's going to look a little different depending on what chord you're doing, but let's test it out. Let's try it on the C chord, get that ironed out, and work this every day. We need consistency. And maybe do it a couple times a day. Do it in the morning, set a timer, just do like 5 minutes. You probably got 5 minutes. If not, at least do 2 minutes. Just get a little bit of time with it. Don't judge it. Don't get frustrated with it. Just practice it. All right, you get home from school, get off work, pick it up again. Work it for 5 minutes. Going to bed, pick it up again. Work it for a couple minutes. Doing this frequently builds up how many times you're bringing back this muscle memory. And if you're doing this 3 times a day, let's just say you did 3 minutes 3 times a day, that's 9 minutes a day, right? But you had 3 practice sessions in on your C, do that every day of the week, 3 times 7, you got 21 practice sessions you put in. At that point, the muscle memory is going to start feeling a lot better, okay? Yeah, it'll take consistency for 1 week. I think you can do that. I know you can do that. And then your C is going to be at a much better place. You're going to feel way better with it. And don't forget to start using it in songs. Right? We don't just want to practice muscle memory and placement and things like that. We need to use it. We need to put it to the test. And you don't have to wait for it to be perfect to do that. The last disclaimer on this is if you are putting it to the test, be careful old muscle memory doesn't just creep in and you start like reversing it, your hand's way over here doing this weird stuff. when you're putting it to the test, go slow and really make sure you're getting it as we discussed and working in the new muscle memory in context with the music. It won't be full speed. It won't probably be totally clean yet. Be patient with it. Chords are something that we work on over a long period of time. In the meantime, as you're working on making your chords better, supplement that by working on other things that are easier to play, such as melodies and riffs. All right, have a good one.